So how's the Crested Butte real estate market doing? Hey, it's Chris Coffin. Welcome to my office. I want to just give you a high-level overview what's transpired. It's March 2019. We're in the throes of spring break and a tremendous amount of new snow. Really, March, we've seen a huge spike in our snowfall and the density of snow, which is great. We need the moisture. Certainly, we had a kind of a low precipitation year last year, so everything has been great. We had a really strong 2018. If you haven't gotten a copy of my annual market report at the end of the year, you can do that. There's 19 pages, and then I just recently published the update as well at the end of February, beginning of March. It kind of gives you an overview. So just a couple highlights, and then I'll encourage you to get these to go through the details. But I'll give you a high level here, and I do that as well in my market report. Try and give you a high level, and then if you want to dig down into any specific category, I break it down by geography and price point, so it makes it easy for you to go through and say, hey, what are the single-family home price points in Mount Crested Butte, or what are the price points for homes that sold between $1 million and $1.5 million, or $2 million and above, or so you can kind of break it down and look at the area that's most important to you. And I'm always here to answer questions and help you in any way that I can to understand the patterns and trends. But basically, 2018, we saw a pretty strong year, really our fifth or sixth year coming out of the recession, that we saw strong results. There was strong buyers in the market. We didn't see really any huge price point increases. In fact, in a lot of categories, we saw the market was fairly flat or down based on price points, except for the lower end of the market. Single family homes under $1 million and the condo townhome market that was probably under the 750 range. We saw a lot of transactions, and we saw properties that didn't stay on the market too long. The rest of the market, we saw good activity, but we just didn't see any inflection points. And then, of course, the big news in 2018 was the acquisition of Crested Butte Mountain Resort by Vail. And a lot of people thought that that was going to provide a big inflection point in our price points. And so it didn't really happen. We're kind of coming to the end of the winter. We got about three weeks or so left in the ski season, and we've certainly seen a lot of Epic Pass visitors, but not necessarily a lot of affluent buyers in the market. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But in general, what we're seeing now is a little bit of a funky market in 2019, a little slowdown. We'll see how the end of the spring break turns out. There's a little bit of a pickup with the activity level, but certainly the snow is so good, people want to be out there skiing. So one thing I did notice, if you look in this market report, that's pretty interesting, is I was trying to figure out, all right, why do we see a little bit of a slowdown of this beginning this first quarter of 2019? And I looked at single family homes between $1 million and $2 million, and then $2 million to $3 million. And I'll let you go and get the report, but just so you know, there was a little bit of a gap, if you will, a little bit of an aggressive price point on the seller side. We generally have, I think last year, $1 million to $2 million, the discount from asking to selling was 4.3%, and the price point of single family homes that are $1 million to $2 million is currently about 12.5% above the previous sold prices. So a little bit of extra stretch in the $2 million to $3 million range. It's a pretty big stretch, almost 30%, 29 point something percent. So I think there's some euphoria perhaps in some of the sellers. Not all the properties are priced that way, but in general, that's the point. But for buyers as well, there is trends in other markets where when Vail has come in, they do a really good job of trying to understand the infrastructure, and there's been some issues with lift closures this year. They had an issue with the Silver Queen lift of late, and they're not running the Teocalli lift. They plan to replace that next year. So there's going to be some great improvements, and they really want to go through and do those improvements before they do a tremendous amount of marketing. But there's sort of a window right now before I think they get through that, and that might be through this summer, maybe into next winter, but definitely not a huge time frame before I believe, considering our national economy and world economy is stable and there's not any major changes there, which aren't anticipated, then I think we'll continue to see progression in price points and interest in Crested Butte as we see a lot more new visitors come and to get exposed to Crested Butte as well. It's going to be interesting to see just how they do the things that they say they're going to do relative to the infrastructure. One last point that I've mentioned a couple of times in my market reports, I believe that in the event that there is an announcement for a major development, let's just say where the Gothic building was, or the Cimarron building was going to be built, if that something like that at the base area was going to go in, then I think we'd see probably $1,000 square foot condo prices at the base, and I think that if they were able to pre-sell those and we saw some activity in that regard, then I believe we would see price points rising among all properties in all areas in the Crested Butte area. So those are my thoughts. And as always, I'm here. You can go to chriskoff.com and take a look at my market reports and get on my newsletter and get those. I send them out on a monthly basis. I'm always here to answer your questions. So reach out to me if I can be of help, and have an awesome day.